You've all come to hear some talks, but I can't help but think you don't really need them. You're quite happy to chat. So, as this is... Oh, it's you. Oh, great. Well, I'll sit there.
I just forwarded your profile to a couple of people.
So as this is my first Daring and Mighty dinner, I know some of you know me, and some of you know my story, but I wanted to kind of set the tone for what all of these dinners are going to be. And tonight's theme is around personal mastery, which is absolutely my story. It's what I live and breathe. A couple of the speakers actually said to me, not this one, of course, this one absolutely knows what personal mastery is. They're like, what's personal mastery? And I do think I need to explain what personal mastery is, and more specifically what it means to me. So tonight I would like to share my story with you, and I'm going to be telling some stories. So those of you who've heard me speak my story time and time again, rest assured I'm going to share stuff that I've never shared before. Because I feel like my message has evolved, and I think messages do evolve, don't they, in business? And I know I feel like I reinvent my business pretty much every 6 months as I evolve. You know, I don't think you can have a personal brand or a coaching business and not be in the work. We were talking about this, and always evolving. And when we evolve, everything around us evolves. And if you run a business, that has to evolve. So that's something I've had to get used to. Anywho, so let me tell you some stories by me. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So, growing up, I was a very worried and sensitive little girl. And I have a very strong memory of one day, both of my parents being called in to the school. I was about 10. And they were asked to have a meeting with the teacher, not just one, but both of them. So like this was serious. And I was really nervous. And I remember them going into the classroom, and I sat on this very cold, albeit it was Australian, sort of old concrete step. And I sat there waiting nervously to find out what on earth I had done wrong. I was really scared. Eventually, Mum and Dad come out of the classroom, and they both looked at me very compassionately and with a lot of love. And it turned out all it was that I wasn't doing great at maths, and I just needed a little bit of extra support. I hadn't done anything wrong. And my dad, who's like 6'2", big hands, big guy, looked at me, and I was this little, skinny, fragile 10-year-old. And he took my little hand, and he held it, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said 7 words to me that would shape my life forever. He said, "You are, I can do anything, Katie." And something inside me just went, yeah, I am. Like this kind of inner wisdom said, yes, that's my truth. And my daddy, saying it to me made it true. So despite my very sensitive, worried nature, I knew then that I was filled with potential and possibility. And there was something about Dad saying so that absolutely made it like concrete. What our parents say to us at that age becomes concrete, and that's kind of another story. Shortly after that, we moved from our little apartment into a lovely little house, and we had a sunroom. I think you call them conservatories here. We had a sunroom, and I spent days and days and days, nearly every day, playing with the cats in that sunroom. And Dad had a photocopy of a quote that he put on the wall in there. He put his desk in there. By his desk was a Theodore Roosevelt quote about daring mighty things. And the quote I read every day became what I now can see was an affirmation. And it said, "Far better it is to dare mighty things and win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those timid spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they know not victory nor defeat." Powerful, right? No surprise, my first business became known as Daring and Mighty on the back of that affirmation that I would read every day. And that too shaped my life. And then I have a memory of sitting on my mum's bed. We had this beautiful like mother-daughter moment where she sat me down and she wanted to convey to me the importance of really loving and respecting my body. And she said to me, Katie, your body isn't something to be afraid of or ashamed of. She said, I want you to know your body intimately. I want you to look at it. I want you to touch it. I want you to know it. And I want you to love and respect it. It is yours, and you get to do whatever you want to do with your body. And I'll never forget, like, how often does a mother sit with a daughter and say something so powerful, because that instilled in me incredible body confidence all through my life. Mum also knew that I was worried, and I used to not be able to sleep at night because I was worried about worrying. Like, I worried about worrying. That's how worried I was. So she would always say to me, Katie, be kind to yourself. Kind to yourself. It's something, I've got a couple of clients in the room, they probably know that I quite often will say, be kind to yourself. And my dad would say that to me as well. He would say, because I was always freaking out about my next exam, I was such a good girl. I was such an A-star student. And I was always worrying about homework I had due or exams I had coming up. And I remember one time in particular, but it happened regularly, where I was freaking out that I had homework due the next day and I'd not done it, and I didn't know how I was possibly going to get it all done. And Dad would say to me, Katie, you know, you're never going to get everything done. And as we women, right, we have to do this, we think we've got to get it all done. And Dad would always say, you're never going to get it all done, and you're never going to get it all right. But you always try your best, and he knew I did. I was the A-type personality. You always try your best. It'll be okay. And he would say, what's the worst that could happen? Is anybody going to die if you don't hand in that homework tomorrow? And that was it. And so even now, when I have a deadline and I think I'm not going to make it, I've learned to, you can always call for a deadline extension, really always. But no one's going to die if I miss it, if I can't get absolutely everything done, right? So there's this whole message around being kind to myself, and then although my family weren't religious, my mum would always recite these few words from the Bible, which was, do unto others. So it's all about kindness and compassion to other people as well as yourself. And I know my dad was always getting me to check on mum, make sure mum's okay, what does mum need, get used to looking at other people and noticing what they need, and help, be helpful, be just, you know, I have to do it with my son all the time, so they're just so in the games. They don't actually look up and go, do you need some help, Mum? You know, so that was a really big thing in my household. So there was, those stories, I don't know if anybody who's heard me speak before have ever heard me say those stories, no, right? I realized recently that those stories are so important because they're part of who I am now, a huge part of who I am and the way I show up in the world, and the confidence I have at times, and how I am daring and mighty, and I do take chances and risks and put myself out there, and like I was shitting my pants all day today to meet you guys, you know, like I was, because I've not done this before, and it's something new. And I think we're never really fully ready, are we, for something new, ever. And I think we really have to get that. We are never fully ready. You know that. You two just launched your business. You guys are like, orders coming in tomorrow. Are we ready? No. But you're never fully ready.
No idea.
But here's the thing. Despite all the beautiful, positive conditioning and programming that I received as a little girl, it's really interesting to then notice that from the age of 17 through to the age of about 34, 35, which is when I met Michelle, I wasn't doing so great. I mean, I was, and I'll tell you how I was, but I wasn't. So when I was 17, my final year of school, final exams, lots of pressure on, working really hard. My thing was to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to study. That was what I would do. I'd get up at 4 and I would cram it for the exams. I had an English assessment. I had to present some sort of talk to my fellow students. And that wasn't really such a big problem for me because I had done lots of Toastmasters speech classes when I was a young girl. Japanese was my thing, and I'd do Japanese speech competitions. I did Japanese, and I would win them. I was a dancer and I would perform and I was always in the school plays, so I actually kind of had this sort of quite wanted to be in the spotlight. But I was still fairly shy. I wasn't like overtly confident. But for me to stand up and speak to a group wasn't going to freak me out. But on this day, have you ever had that dream, that nightmare, where you want to scream? It's a horrible nightmare and nothing comes out. We've all had it. What is that dream that we all have? Why do we all know it? It's horrible. And I stood in front of my classmates, not worried. I was prepared. I was a good girl. And I stood up and I literally went, and it was like that. And nothing would come out. And I tried, and the teacher was like, okay, just excuse me from the room. I don't think I ever had to do the assessment. The biggest message I think that I want you guys to take away today is the idea that what we don't own owns us. What we don't own owns us. And what had been happening for me for several months leading up to that day in front of that classroom was pretty traumatic, and I hadn't owned it because I didn't know how to process it. No one had given me those tools. I had other tools, but I hadn't had the tools to process the drama and the shock of what had been going on. So over a period of months, I found out that it turned out that my dad was he was very, very sick with alcoholism. And my mum was very sick with clinical depression. And a few months later, my mum would try to take her own life. 5 years later, she succeeded. So knowing that, you can probably imagine that it actually wasn't all roses in the Phillips household. Like, I thought it was, and everybody else thought it was. I thought I had the most beautiful, happy, perfect family. But I found out in a very short space of time, very quickly, that it wasn't. And it totally rocked my world. And some of you may or may not know this, but up until the age of 7, children don't really have a mental faculty. We're very intuitive little creatures. We feel everything. It's from 7 that the cognitive thing kicks in and we can start to understand. So you can't reason with a 2-year-old. You can't. They feel everything. They don't understand. So little worried Katie, there's good reason that she was worried. She didn't know why. I could never answer the question if Mum and Dad knew why, but I sensed, although I couldn't put words to it, I felt unsafe. I felt like they were all going to leave somehow. I sensed that Dad was going to leave to another woman, and he did actually for a period of time when I was about 7, 8, and then he came back. I sensed that I would lose Mum because I sensed that she couldn't deal with life. So on an intuitive level, I knew it, but I couldn't explain it, so I was just worried all the time. And so when I turned 17, and this was all going on, a whole bunch of stuff from my childhood and all sorts of things that went on, which I won't go into now, but all sorts of stuff was triggered. It was like it just switched on, and I did not have the tools to deal with it. So when we don't own our pain, our fear, and so on, there's an amazing mind-body connection. It's actually one of the next dinners. I think it's the September dinner. We're going to do a thing around mind-body connection. I'm going to bring in a bunch of experts and we're going to look at it because it's a really interesting piece. But from the age of 17 to 34, 35, I suffered a lot of illness. I became unwell. Like, I can do anything Katie suddenly was crippled with chronic fatigue for 3 years. I had a really low immune system. I was constantly getting colds and flus, which was frustrating for me and everybody around me. I was very angry. It was all unprocessed. I was angry. Mum left, Dad, it was like it all happened and I was pissed. The anger affected my relationships. I wasn't that easy to be in an intimate relationship with. But it affected my skin. I had terrible cystic acne on and off for years. What else did I have going on? Oh yeah, so this is the time that I'm getting really intimate now. So this is the time that my sex life really took off, and I could not look forward to sex. Because whenever, nearly like probably 98% of the time, if I was to have sex, I would get a urinary tract infection immediately afterwards. And often it would hospitalize me. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into
Take the fun out of it.
I don't get the mind-body connection around that chakra and everything, but I was feeling unsafe in the world, and so opening myself up intimately in that way triggered that, and it made me sick. So I had all of this going on because what we don't own owns us. But I had daring and mighty programming. I knew I was full of potential. I knew anything was possible. So I decided, well not decided, I kind of just did. It's like, it's not conscious. I did what I knew to do, what was programmed in me. I was on autopilot. My autopilot was sweep it under the carpet, pretend it's not happening, because that's what my family did, pretend it's not happening, and go out there and kill it. Succeed. Have an amazing life. And I did, and I'm proud of the life I led. I had an amazing career, I traveled the world, I had lots of fun and interesting boyfriends until they became really, what's the word for it? Toxic is the word for it, yeah. But I was partly to blame for that, by the way, of course. So I had it all going on, and from the outside looking in, I really looked like I had this big life. I was living loud. And like I said, I'm still proud of that. I'm proud that I did that. And I created a lot for myself. But what we don't own owns us. That stuff didn't go away. The anger didn't go away. It actually just got worse. And that's how the toxic relationships just became and got worse and worse and worse. My health didn't get any better. It just got worse. And my anxiety increased to the point where I was like just crippled on the floor, couldn't breathe at times. It was terrible. I was owned by all of this unhealed stuff. Which is about the time that I met Michelle, actually, who was my first coach, when I got to the point where I just couldn't do therapy anymore. It just wasn't enough for me to keep telling my same story over again. I needed to really move it forward, which Michelle helped me to do. And there's a time, I think, in every woman's or everybody's life when we're called to heal, actually. I believe we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And I believe that we are here to evolve and grow, and we use our human life experiences, what life gives us, what family members it gives us. We can use that as fuel to really get to know ourselves and love and appreciate ourselves. And from that place, we can do what we came here to do. We can be who we're meant to be. We're all here to be something unique and special. We're all here to serve in some way. But how can we do that and feel on purpose and fulfilled if we're not actually connected to the truth of who we are, and if actually we're showing up in the world and being run by unconscious programming and sabotaging habits of behavior and so on, which I was. So yeah, for me it was 34 when I woke up and went, okay, you know what, enough with being the victim. I need to work out how not to be a victim anymore, because I was fed up of being that person. And I wanted to feel better in myself, and I wanted to not be playing the kind of I'm fine charade anymore, like that smiling and keeping up appearances thing. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was fed up with it. So my journey began to heal and to come home to me and to really freaking get to know myself and really own who I was. Remember, what we don't own owns us. It was time to own me, time to own my stories, time to not be a victim of them, but use them to kind of launch pad me into doing what I'm meant to do. I had to look at my mum's suicide as not something that I could wear as a t-shirt saying my mum committed suicide, poor me. I have good reason to be angry and pissed or sad or grief or whatever. I could actually use that for me, the big lesson I got out of that was the importance of loving yourself. The irony of what my mum would teach me. Love your body, take care of your body. There was a reason why she was giving me that message. I won't go into it, but she had to learn that, so she wanted to make sure I knew that. She taught me a lot about codependency, actually, I can see in retrospect, but she was codependent. I picked up on that. My mum didn't know how to own her stuff, and so it owned her. My dad didn't know how to own his stuff, and so it owned him. And I learned to do life that way too. I think that we are all called to really tap into the truth of who we are. And I know that every single woman in this room is here because, like I don't know exactly what brought you here, but I'm imagining you saw the title, Daring and Mighty Dinners, and you went, oh, cool. Daring and Mighty, that sounds good. I want to associate with that. What did I call it? How to be daring and mighty. Not the art of you. What did I call it? What did I call this event? Personal mastery.
Yeah.
Personal mastery. And you were like, did anyone know what personal mastery was when they read that? Yeah?
No,
For you. Yes, well that's it, isn't it? Right? Like it is unique to you. For me, personal mastery is it's mastering my mind so that my belief systems don't own me. I own me. Actually, it's about tapping into my spiritual nature, which is pure love, and that's what we all need to come home to, and then have that own us. That's kind of a cool thing to own us, right? To show up as love. It's about having emotional mastery, and for me, the root. I mean, I can't wait for this event in September, but the root for me healing all the physical stuff I had going on. I mean, I haven't had a urinary tract infection for like 3 years. Yay! You know, I've got good skin. I'm healthy. I rarely get. I'm 44. I've never been in such good shape. That's through emotional mastery. That's through processing my emotions. And I'm telling you, I went primal with that stuff. And I still do sometimes. If stuff comes up for me, I go primal with it. Like I go into it and I feel it. You're nodding because you've done it too. And I feel my way through. I feel my way out. I feel my way back to love. I'm not willing to live in fear. So even though today in my hotel room when I was preparing to come here, I was like, I might just run away and maybe they won't notice. Why do I do this? Why do I, put myself through it? Well, because I'm not willing to live in fear, and something inside me, because I've tapped into that, I know who I am and I know my truth and I know what I'm meant to do in the world, and I know that everything that I've gone through and everything that I'm passionate about can't be for nothing. Like I'm meant to talk to people and I'm meant to inspire just through my experience. Like, I think women are amazing how we share stories, and tonight there's going to be a lot more storytelling, and I think it's important for us to do that. And I could have just not come. And I did question, why do I do it to myself? And now I'm standing here in front of you and you're all receiving me with smiles and you're thinking, oh gee, and I'm really glad. And the nerves are gone. And I'm looking at every one of your faces and you're just all beautiful, beautiful, unique humans. And you've come to find out a bit more about personal mastery because you're not willing to live in fear either. You want to live the truth of you. And there's some amazing people in the room that can help you actually live the truth of you. And Michelle will be talking shortly and she can help with that. I stand testament. Yeah. We're all being called every minute of every day. And we're never ready to go to our next level, ever. Don't ever think you are. And every time you're ready, every time you desire to go to your next level, like a more fuller expression of you, whether that's in relationship, whether it's in career, whether it's with your money, whether it's parenting, like whatever the next level is for you, it's going to bring your shit up. It's going to bring it up, because if we want to go there, we kind of have to go there. We sort of have to match it. Like, that's life, right? It's the yin and the yang. We have to match it. I want to go there, I'm going to have to dig down here and dig a little bit. Like today, here I am telling a story I've never told before about when I stood up in front of that English class. And on that day, I made that experience mean I can't speak in public. And that owned me. For years, I can't speak in public. So today, I was coming to speak to you guys, and of course I'm going there. So there's another little tiptoe level higher. So I had to go a bit deeper into, yeah, you can. Sort of TEDx for Google. Yeah, you can. I really had to remind myself what I've done, that I can, and I will. It's one of my favorite affirmations. I can and I will. So ladies, you're all here because you have other levels that you want to go to. And so I'm inviting you to remember what you don't own owns you. Personal mastery is about choosing to get familiar, get really intimate with that stuff that is owning you and that's holding you back from living the truth of who you are. Because we're all unique, beautiful humans, full of love. Our whole being and nature is love. And we're meant to be out there doing our thing, whatever that is. So I hope that after tonight, you will all commit to maybe one brave act tomorrow, or maybe a little brave act every day, just tiptoeing to your next level. We're about to have a beautiful dinner, after which Michelle is going to speak, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say. And then we will have some stories from, as I said, Sandra, Hattie, and Pippa, who I have asked to speak because they get personal mastery, like they really freaking get it. I've watched all three of them on a journey of personal mastery, and they inspire me deeply. Oh, it makes me want to cry. They inspire me deeply, and they're doing amazing things in the world. And they will be honest, I know, because just because you choose to master you and be the best version of you doesn't mean life doesn't stop throwing you curveballs, and doesn't mean it doesn't stop getting hard. And actually, I think more curveballs come your way when you sign up to this way of living, this sort of transformational way of living, of moving from fear to love every day. Because the universe is like, awesome, she's come here to do what she came here to do. And so you're going to be challenged to keep going higher. And I can't wait to hear you guys speak. I love you. Thank you for all being here. Enjoy your beautiful meal. And if you want more wine, if you've surpassed your first 2 free glasses, help yourself to the bar, and I'm going to dive into the booze now too.